Anyone who plays video games knows about The Legend of Zelda, whether it's the old Zelda games to the newer ones. I'm sure anyone who plays video games at all has heard about it, and even some people who don't play games have at least seen stuff of it. I mean, it's one of the best game series of all time, and for good reason. The Legend of Zelda has revolutionized gaming and become a very influential game series over the years, with many games being influenced by it. I'm sure you can tell by how much I'm praising it already, but The Legend of Zelda is my absolute favorite game series of all time. But as a series that has been around for 38 years, there have been a lot of changes to the games throughout its lifetime. But while these changes will usually stick to a formula that was established since basically the first Zelda game, that will all change in 2017. In 2014, Nintendo shocked fans when they showed this during their E3 presentation. This was a brand new Zelda game that looked very different to every other game in the series that had been released up until then. This game that would later become known as Breath of the Wild looked amazing, and old-time Zelda fans couldn't contain their excitement and wanted to know more about it. And with the Wii U not having a lot of games to play, fans couldn't wait to get their hands on this brand new Zelda game. But while every Zelda fan was excited, especially since the last 3 Zelda games we had gotten was Skyward Sword, and well, we all know how that was received, I don't think anyone, including myself, expected the game to change the traditional formula so drastically. Unfortunately, due to the development taking longer than expected, Nintendo had to delay the game for 2 years, pushing its release date from 2015 to 2017. Then, in January of that year, the official trailer for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild came out, and what Nintendo had made took a lot of people by surprise, and fans couldn't contain their excitement while watching it.
Oh, just take it, just take the money, take it.
Voice acting? Look at that shit. That's my favorite part. I love it. What? It's music! Less than 2 months.
It was clear that Breath of the Wild was going to be very different from every other Zelda game, and boy was it different. Upon release, people immediately started getting hooked on it, and it became an overnight sensation with not just Zelda fans but people who play video games around the world. The amount of content offered in the game and the freedom of being able to do whatever you want, including going straight to the final boss right after the tutorial, was something that brought in multiple players. And the success of the newest console, the Nintendo Switch, only added to its popularity, and even people who had never played a Zelda game couldn't get enough of it. The amount of freedom Breath of the Wild offered was something that had not been seen since the first Legend of Zelda game on the NES, and Nintendo had done an amazing job of bringing it back. Of course, due to the overwhelming amount of support the game got, it won Game of the Year and became very influential in gaming, with many games taking inspiration from it. But this wasn't the first time a Zelda game had achieved this level of success or influence. In 1999, Nintendo released what is considered the best video game of all time by many, and the only game that has ever gotten a 99 Metascore by Metacritic. This game was called The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It was the first 3D Zelda game, and it was revolutionary with its innovative gameplay as well as compelling story and a vast world to explore. And just like Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time became very influential in gaming, with many games taking inspiration from it following its release. But while both Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild are considered the best Zelda games of all time by many, and with both setting a standard for 3D adventure and open world games after their releases, they are very different in games, with one focusing more on exploration and gameplay while the other focused more on pacing and story. But there were other differences between the games that longtime Zelda fans noticed right away, with the major one being the absence of dungeons in Breath of the Wild. Okay, well, it had dungeons, mainly the Divine Beast and Hyrule Castle, but while they were fun, they weren't the same as all the other previous titles, and they didn't feel as impactful to the story progression like it did with every other game in the series. You see, dungeons were a crucial part of every Zelda game up until then. Every time someone talked about Zelda, they will more than likely end up talking about the dungeons as well. There are even plenty of tier lists out there that rank every dungeon in every Zelda game. That's how big of a role they play in the series. Each game had themed dungeons that were designed based on an area of a game, and it was something that me, along with pretty much every Zelda fan, loved about the series. So when Breath of the Wild was missing this crucial part of the series, fans started to wonder if Nintendo was getting rid of themed dungeons altogether, with many wanting them back in future games. Discussed the community to the buy, with many saying the new Zelda formula was better and Nintendo should keep making games like it, mainly the newer fans introduced to the series through Breath of the Wild, while others said the traditional formula was better and Nintendo should make more Zelda games that followed it, mainly longtime Zelda fans like myself. Then, in 2023, Nintendo released The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And while the game had more dungeons that felt a little more like the older Zelda ones, it was still not the same, at least not for me. This made me lose some hope in Nintendo bringing back the classic Zelda I had grown up with, despite many asking for it. That was until this year, when Nintendo announced its newest release, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Not only was it the first Zelda game made by Nintendo where you got to play as Zelda, but it was also a top-down Zelda game, and from the trailers there were some similarities that you could see between this game, Ocarina of Time, and A Link to the Past, mainly the Deku Tree and Ganon. This was exciting and I couldn't wait to play it. So as soon as I was able to get my hands on it, I started playing it and I found a hard time putting it down. This game was a lot like Ocarina of Time, something I immediately noticed as soon as we were tasked with escaping from the castle and sneak past the soldiers. But that's not all, we also got to see the return of some characters we had not seen since before Breath of the Wild. I already mentioned Ganon from A Link to the Past and the Deku Tree from Ocarina of Time, but Echoes of Wisdom also brought back other characters like the Deku Scrubs, Jabu Jabu, and a few enemies from Ocarina of Time, with one of them being one of my favorite from the game, the fire-breathing Dragon Bulbagia. These characters along with other references to past Zelda games made me feel the spark I had with other games in the series, something I hadn't felt in a while. Not only does Echoes of Wisdom pay homage to past Zelda games, but it also brought back theme dungeons with the Desert Temple, Water Temple, Fire Temple, and so on. But while this game is a lot like the old Zelda, it also kept the open world and freedom from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's a mix between the old and the new Zelda, and I love it. I think it took the best parts of both formulas and did a great job doing so. While I still miss the linear aspect of the old Zelda, I have to admit, having the ability to explore the world in any way I like with the freedom of going anywhere is something I really like. I mean, let's be honest, as a kid, how many times did you wish you could go and explore an area in a Zelda game that the game prevented you from doing so? I know for a fact I did. But with an open world and the freedom to explore the map in any way we want, we no longer have to worry about feeling curious about what could be there. Now we can actually go there and realize that there's actually nothing and it's just an empty piece of land or just the top of a regular tree. But hey, at least you got your curiosity out of the way and now you can focus back on the story without thinking about it anymore. That's why I think having the story and boss fights along with theme dungeons from the old Zelda formula and the gameplay and explorations from the new Zelda formula was a great move by Nintendo. So does that mean Echoes of Wisdom is the perfect Zelda game for both old and new fans alike? Well no, but it is a great step forward by Nintendo towards making a Zelda game that mixes both styles in a way that both sides can enjoy. I really hope Nintendo will take what they did with Echoes of Wisdom and give the mix of both formulas while improving on it more. Especially the theme dungeons. In my opinion, they could be improved upon to make it more like the ones from the old Zelda games. But what do you think? Should Nintendo keep making more games with a mix of both Zelda formulas, or should they just keep making separate games for old fans and new fans? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Have a great morning, day, or night, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out. Also, Nintendo, if you have it, please release the Twilight Princess remake for Switch already. I'm begging you.